Hello everybody, it is December 14th, 2024. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about the importance of backdrops for studio photography. But to me, why the colors are important, why the textures are important, as well as how it affects skin tones and, just my overall ideas and thought process, especially now. I finally went to get some more backdrops for my family's home photography studio. Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about today. To me, a good backdrop can make or break a photo, in my opinion. So to me, why does a good backdrop matter? Especially now that I'm here in Mexico, I wanted to take the time to finally go to a fabric store and finally take my time, go through the fabrics, because there's a ton of good fabrics here in Mexico. And so I gather my ideas mostly on Pinterest, which I'm going to get to right now, and how I separate my thought process, especially for photography or anything creative, within Pinterest boards. So on Pinterest, I have a lot of Pinterest boards, and I have a board specifically for studio photography, which is what I recommend. I feel like when you're starting your photography journey, it's important for you to know where you're headed towards, what your goal is, or the type of aesthetics that you are drawn to, because that probably, it gives you a lot of answers. It grounds you to what your end goal should be, if that makes any sense. I know that doesn't or will not resonate with everybody, but somebody else on the internet said this and it resonated so much with me, and I just wanted to, share that with y'all. I'll put on the screen where I learned that from. It was from a YouTuber. It was actually for an art video, but I think it correlates to anything visual. I think it's important for you to, maybe if it's not even Pinterest, maybe just printing out some pictures or going through magazines and cutting some pictures out, literally anything, like textures, shapes, colors, composition, lighting, anything that catches your eye. And I might say this wrong, but I'm pretty sure the YouTuber I'm referencing to, she said something along the lines of save anything that you would want to have made, if that makes sense. So that's basically what I did on my Pinterest. And I do that for all types of things, not only photography, but I personally like to separate the type of photography because I'm into a lot of things. But so one of the Pinterest boards I have is my studio photography board. Here, you might notice I don't have a lot of pictures on here, but the ones that are on here are because I'm very, attracted to them. I love them. I love the lighting, the colors, the composition, everything about it. So after you have your board, I think it's important for you to look at every image separately and then look at your Pinterest board as a whole. So what I like to do is grab a notebook or just your notes app and pinpoint the things that stick out to you that you can see are repeated in every image. For example, I like a lot of side lighting. Sometimes I really like, I guess what would be considered dark backgrounds or dark backdrops. So that is something that stuck out to me, and that is something that I took note of for when I actually went to buy some backdrops. I'm not going to get too much into detail about all the nitty-gritty things that I like about every single image or the images on my Pinterest board, but because this video is basically just about backdrops and what I wanted to share with y'all. Yeah, so I took note of that. I saw a lot of texture, so I noticed that I like the idea of having texture in the backgrounds for portraits. I also found that I'm very attracted to darker tones or darker colors, either on the greens, a few blues, and some purples, as well as tans and browns. I wasn't able to get every single color I wanted, but I was able to get a few. My mom and I went to 2 different fabric stores here in Hidalgo, where I am at right now. And so I looked at a few options and we decided on basically getting, I think we got 2 backdrops, and then we got 3 other fabrics that we can use as backdrops, but we bought them more for to mimic clothing, if that makes sense. So also something that my mom and I considered, because I went with my mom because she's also a photographer, if y'all didn't know, we were trying to find a fabric that was thick enough so it could be sort of moldable. And I'll put a reference up because I had a very specific image in mind for when I was looking for this type of fabric. I didn't get the same fabric obviously, but the idea of it being thick and able to, you know, curve with the body enough but also be stiff enough where I can position it in a different way if I wanted to. So I decided on, it was one type of fabric and I got it in 2 colors, which were very pretty. I think it was a brown, and then I got a dark blue, which I loved. The texture and the thickness is what I really loved. I definitely wanted to have that as an option, so that is why we went with that. And then also I really wanted to get a silky fabric that was easy to drape on, so that is why we got those fabrics. And then talking about the backdrop fabrics, I got this one, which is behind me right now. You can't tell very well, but I'll show some b-roll of it. I really liked it because of the texture as well as how thick it was. I think it was the closest one I could find that was near the references and inspiration I already had on my Pinterest board, so that was good. And then the other backdrop, I think I'm attracted more towards darker tones for backdrops and clothing overall for photographs. But I wasn't close to the idea of having a lighter color, you know, for different types of photographs. So I was considering light pink and light blue. Those are kind of the ideas that I was open to. But then we stumbled upon a really pretty thick fabric that was like a pearly white, off-white type of color, and it also has a texture that was so pretty. I have seen a few images with that type of fabric, but I had never seen it in person. So when we found it, we were like, it was one of the most expensive ones in the store, to be honest with you. So we were thinking about it, and we actually got out of the store to go to another store, but then we came back for that one because it was just too pretty and we could not have taken it, you know what I mean? I've yet to use that in a photo session, but I will for sure really want to try that because it's so out of the idea I had for photographs I wanted to make and sort of my comfort zone, which is darker colors. So I definitely really want to work with that, and I'm excited for that. Also, going back to why I think backdrops matter so much is because of the colors you get. I'm not gonna sit here and say which colors are the best to get. I think that's up to you. I think that's up to your stylistic choice, the type of aesthetic you're trying to go towards. But I will say, consider the color enough where you know for a fact that if you don't want any type of, what would it be called, any type of reflections, consider the fact that you might have that color bounce to your subject's skin. To me, I don't really mind. I think it's kind of cool, but I did consider the fact that, and I said this in another video, I really like having either green, blues, and purples in my shadows. So considering the fabrics I got, which is blue, and we have another green backdrop that I also am thinking of using, and other dark toned colors, it doesn't affect my image in a way where I wouldn't like it, you know what I mean? For example, a bright red, and that's just me, I wouldn't want red reflecting onto my subject's skin. That's just me. You know? Yeah, so just consider that, because I do think that the colors you choose and what you're trying to go for, you know, just take that into consideration. As well as textures, right? Sometimes there are some backdrops that have too much texture that I think it affects the camera. I don't know, it might have some explanation. I can't give it to you right now, but from experience, it's just some fabrics aren't the best on cameras, to be honest with you. I haven't dealt with it so much with backdrops, but I have dealt with it photographing types of clothing and the fabrics of that clothing. So just also consider that. This week I really wanted to finally, you know, go get the fabrics I wanted, especially since, you know, since I was traveling the past year, I'm not able to, you know, be in a singular place and have like decent space for, you know, even a home studio. But here in Mexico, we have made a little home studio. It's very cute. It's not the biggest space, but it's enough space to make a decent image. So so basically I really just wanted to get a fabric and create some images. As you know, I went through my Pinterest board, I studied it, I sort of categorized what I wanted. I wanted to use a snoot because I think it would give a really cool effect. So really, I don't have a lot of experience as well in studio photography, but y'all can follow me on my journey to learning and maybe learn some things that I've learned along the way. I just really wanted to finally do my first photo shoot here. Obviously, I asked my mom to be the model and she was kind enough to let me do her makeup, which I'm not the best at. I kind of ruined it the first time and she fixed it, so that's yeah, I don't know, maybe I should collab with some makeup artists because I am not a makeup artist. So anyways, besides that, I really wanted to use a snoot because I think it would give a really cool effect, and try out some other types of lighting as well. Yeah, so I was setting everything up. We put this backdrop that I have right here. So I do use a Sony a7 III, which is my camera body right now. Okay, my Lightroom is opening. Oh look, updates on Lightroom. And I used an 85mm lens. So I was shooting at 1.4 aperture. Well, first I really wanted to do like a dramatic type of lighting. I was telling my mom about this. I love whenever subjects aren't necessarily paying attention to the camera. So when it's like very natural and fluid, that's kind of the poses I gave to her. Almost like Renaissance paintings in a way, which I guess now would be considered fine art photography, but I don't think that's what I'm striving for in a sense. But anyways, I wanted to do some dramatic lighting. So I like having shadows across the face. I feel like it gives the image a 3-dimensionality in a way. It gives it contrast and it gives it depth. I think for the first images I did, I definitely had the snoot. I had the snoot with like a grid on it. I put the flash, did sort of have it at a 45-degree angle, shooting from the top down to her face. I don't know, I just kind of played with that until I liked it. And I was able to do that because of this, which is, it's a light that my dad got for my mom. I'm borrowing this right now, and it's the Godox SL100D. I used this for my snoot, and I was using that for continuous light. I think it was very helpful. I had never really done a session with continuous light like that. Definitely a learning curve, but I was able to get some good images out of it, and I liked it because, especially since it was a snoot and I had a very specific way that I wanted to position the light, and especially the way it hits across the face. Later on, I did end up mixing, I think I did try to use just a snoot, but then I realized that I was losing a lot of detail from the background. So for that, I brought out another flash and I used a bigger umbrella for this, just to sort of give a softer light, not hitting her specifically. And you know what, I should have taken photos. I have this problem of like sort of just going with my gut feeling when it comes to photography, so that also comes in play when I'm doing studio photography, apparently. I didn't use a lot of power for that second flash, which was the softer flash, just enough to give me a little bit more of the background, and that's how I got this image. As you can see, I was using the fabric that I got. I really like the idea of it, the image being monochromatic. Since I had blues, I wanted her eyeshadow to be blue, which is also why I think you should also consider makeup and hairstyle, which is something I also considered for my Pinterest board. So whenever it comes to photo shoots or when I'm gathering ideas for a photo shoot, I also make another Pinterest board or inspiration board to really just put all the ideas I have for the photo shoot, you know, all in one place, so I can very quickly look at it, gather information. Sometimes you forget about things, and having everything in a Pinterest board or any type of board really comes in handy, because if it was just all up in here, it's gone. Like, I'm not remembering all the cool ideas I had. So definitely also a reason why you should being prepared and gathering ideas and inspiration for your photo shoot. Also, I didn't explain her hairstyle. She sort of decided that on her own. I did, you know, choose a lot of what she was wearing. For example, her makeup and her earrings and obviously the fabric that she wore, but her hair was her idea, so I give credit to my mom because it was really cool. I think it's one of the most interesting parts of the image, so that just, you know, makes me consider a little bit more. Maybe I should put more hair style inspiration on my Pinterest boards, because I sort of didn't, but now looking at this, it makes me realize, oh, it's just as important. Did a few images like that with that same lighting, but then I did sort of go to softer light just because I did want to get that sort of Renaissance painting look. I didn't edit it very Renaissance or painterly type. I still kept it a little bit, you know, a little bit of the usual colors that I like to play around with, but definitely for some images that we're about to get to, I think I broke out of, you know, the stereotypical colors that I stick to, which was fun. So for this image, I used softer light. Basically, what I do to get softer light is either have it reflect from another surface or feather the light. Really big light close to my subject, and sometimes feathered if I'm not trying to go for that harsh. So for this specifically and most of my images, I did basically feather my light. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna put on the screen one of my favorite photographs that I took of this session. It has more of a like a greenish type Renaissance. I wanted to make it look old and sort of vintage, which I think I got close. Also, I'm not an expert on this stuff. Just putting it out there. But I definitely really liked when it came to, yeah, the green tones. Again, talking about skin tones and how important it is. Basically, in another video, I think in the last video I just posted, I was explaining what colors I use for shadows, midtones, and highlights, which is usually what I mess with, you know, to edit my images. So I'm gonna go over it again for if you don't or you didn't watch the other video. One of the points I had made was my midtones and how it affects, well, basically your shadows, your midtones, and your highlights are all gonna affect your skin tone. But to me, midtones is what I use a little bit more to affect the skin tones a little bit more. I tend to go either like yellows to the pink areas, and usually in the middle somewhere there is where I like to stick to for my midtones, which to me affects the skin tone a little bit more. It's definitely a learning curve trying to get the skin tones to be, or at least for me, which I think is just a stylistic choice, I like to have the skin tones a little bit golden, a little bit more lively. I try to keep it as natural as possible, but I'm not scared to go a little unnatural, if you know what I mean. The saturation. I really like this image just because I think it reminds me of the girl with the pearl, I think is what it's called. To be honest, I can't even remember what the image looked like, but something like that. And then I had other images. The next one, I think it was with my snoot lighting only. I didn't like it that much. I kind of liked it, but not really. And also the way I edited it. I don't know. I'm just sharing here, y'all. Also, it's night. I just got back from a party that my neighbors threw. It was like a neighbor gathering Christmas party or something. So I'm sorry if my voice is a little tired. I did a few close-ups. I think this was the only close-up I did, to be honest with you, that I edited. Right now, to be honest with you, looking back, I really liked the choice I made for her earrings. I don't know if it's just me as a girl, but I definitely think that big dramatic earrings is the way to go. Like that combined with something simple like the fabric I chose and the backdrop, and then being very monochromatic. I don't know. It's just very appealing to my eye. Tips if y'all want. Oh, there's a black and white in there. The black and white was cute, to be honest with you. Recently, I haven't done a lot of black and white photography just because I think, like, especially as an artist, like a painter, I'm very attracted to color. I'm very, you know, it's real. Like, it's what we see in real life. And I just kind of want to portray that a lot of times in my photographs. So I'm a color defender, especially when it comes to street photography, which is what my recent videos have been about. So I'm definitely a color street photography defender, but I'm not against black and white. I love my black and whites, to be honest with you, which is why I decided to have it here. Black and whites to me are so special, to be honest, because I feel like you can't just slap like a black and white to any image. It has to be very specific. Like, you have to consider the lighting, the composition, and, you know, your subject. It's just a gut feeling I think you develop a little bit more towards time. And here apparently I had the need to have this image in black and white, which I'm glad. I think I like it, especially because the lighting was so soft towards her skin and it was a little bit more contrasty with the fabric. I like that difference, to be honest with you. Maybe not so much with the background, but with her skin tone, black and white, I think it suited this image very much. Oh, next one is one of my favorites from the photo session too. Here, I basically just blew out the whole blue background, so scratch everything I just said. No, I'm kidding, but I really like this image, to be honest with you. Obviously, I crushed the blacks a lot, but we added the rose to her hair, you know, as a hairpiece, which is also a thing I have a lot of images from my inspiration boards that have a lot of flowers on both heads. I don't know, it's just very interesting. So my mom had like, it's like a hair clip, but like a really big flower on top of it. I don't know, I think it's really cute because, I mean, also consider the fact that everything is so simple that having something so intricate in design doesn't, you know, obviously it's distracting, but that's kind of the point, because it's what's popping out of the image. Also, it's red. Yeah, it's almost on the opposite side of the color wheel from blue. Yeah, here we go again. I was just talking about this. The blue, the red. Another tip I have for y'all: study y'all's color wheels. I think it's so important for you to understand color, you know, color combos when it comes to clothing, when it comes to skin tones as well. I think a lot of photographers, and I see it a lot, don't consider how colors affect different types of skin tones. Here in Mexico, we have, you know, we vary a lot in skin tones and skin types, in undertones, skin undertones, which is so important. For example, me, I have an olive skin undertone and my mom has what would be like a red skin undertone, and that affects in the colors that go well with, you know, our skin. I think it's important for you to definitely study that. So for example, here I had the red and the blue. Red, I think, goes very well with my mom's skin tone, as well as the blue. I feel like blue really balances out what would be her red skin undertone. Again, going back to the color wheel. And then also the way you edit. For example, if a person's skin is already too red, don't go, why are you going to the warm temperature? Don't do that. I'm just saying, it kind of, you just sort of emphasize something that's already being emphasized. You know, just learn to balance. It's all about balance here, and everybody's different. Also, why I want y'all to sort of also train your eye to consider that, you know what I mean? Train your eye to see the types of colors that go with different types of skin tones and undertones. And that goes back to the backdrops. I think, you know, a good backdrop can really emphasize a person's skin tone in a really beautiful manner. I think I had another black and white in here. To be honest with you, not such a fan. But let's study why I'm not such a fan of this image. Number one, the lighting. Oh, also, it's something I'm still working with because I haven't photographed too many people, and a lot of the people I photographed, I feel like they kind of look alike. So when it comes to face shapes and skin tones, so I definitely found a lot of types of lighting that very much flatter my mom's type of face. So considering this image, I don't think this was the best lighting for her, to be honest with you. I think here, you know what? I wouldn't even know what lighting I was using here. See how much I'm saying that I forget things? Anyways, I totally forgot what type of lighting I was using here. But just looking at it, I think I had 2 flashes at both ends, like here and here. So I don't think it was the lighting. I think it was the position that she was in, which affects how it lands on her face. I actually like the lighting that's going off her shoulders. I think that's very, you know, I think it accentuates that and makes a contrast between her and the background. But when it comes to her face, you know, just to say, I'm not saying anything bad about my mom. I'm just talking, there's types of lightings that flatter other people, you know, than others. I think it's a learning curve for sure, and I'm still learning. But here I don't like it because I feel like my mom's face is very soft. A lot of people's face are usually very soft around the jawline, for example, me. So having that lighting there, I feel like it made a weird gap around her jaw, which I'm not such a fan of, as well as her cheek here, and then her nose as well, and then this little corner on her forehead. I think that's what I don't like about it. So here, I guess it would definitely be a little bit more in between harsher light. So now we know that soft light is better for what I would consider soft faces. Also, that's something I've been studying as well. I'm studying body types, I'm studying face shapes, I'm studying skin tones. That's things that I'm very into, but I think it's important for us to know as photographers, because what we do as a portrait photographer, at least, is try to make a person look beautiful in an image. You know what I mean? So I think understanding all those factors and knowing what to do to make somebody's beauty, you know, be accentuated, you know, within the image, you know, the more you know, the better. I don't think it hurts anybody to know a little bit more, even if it's things that maybe you wouldn't have thought to learn about. So for me, it's definitely learning about colors. It's learning about the types of lighting. It's learning about, recently I've been learning about the types of bodies. Let me share with y'all what I've been learning. The kibe, I don't know how to pronounce it. Body types. I think it's so good for you to study this. I would really recommend it if you're a portrait photographer, to help your subjects, especially if they're asking for your help, which I know as a girl, a lot of women like to ask for opinions when it comes to fashion. I've been asked, like, what do you think I should wear? Or, you know, just things like that. I think learning the kibe or key body types has been so helpful for me. I mean, once you study it, you know what type of neckline, you know, is best for them, what type of pants or dress they should wear. I think it's 12 body types or something. I think they separate it from dramatic, natural, classic, gamin, and romantic body shapes. So just putting it out there, I'm not gonna talk about that because I would go on for days. Definitely that's something I've been studying recently, which I think is very helpful for especially women, because I think we have the most options when it comes to fashion and pieces of clothing. Yeah, just putting it out there. And I'm not just saying that, I'm saying this as a reminder to myself to always keep studying, always keep, you know, finding things that can be very helpful for your clients and the people you're photographing. Okay, here is my last image. I definitely like this image. It was a little harsh on the lighting that was giving her. I guess she was like semi-profile. It was a little harsh. I think I would have changed that. I definitely like the lighting that was coming towards the corner because I had two flashes that were like on both sides. I'm gonna draw it because I forgot to take a photo of it, but I had two flashes on both sides of my subject, and then, you know, going towards her, sort of like a rim light type. Here I had her sitting you know, on the side, which I could have changed that, but you know, at this point we were pretty tired and we were like, let's just finish the images. But I actually really liked it. I think I'd want to recreate this image just with better lighting, like actually hitting her face instead of her back. I really like the lighting on the back, but definitely on her face. I think I should have maybe feathered the light a little bit more, a lot more, or just used a really, really big umbrella. Anyways, that was a lot. That was a lot of rambling. I definitely hope that some of the tips I give or some of the things I learned along the way are helpful to you guys. Also, just as a tip, don't think that you have to take everything from the internet, that you have to go that certain way. I think that learning the basics is definitely a must. I'm still going through that, to be honest with you, but don't limit yourself to that. Like, let yourself be a little bit more creative, go with your gut. To be honest with you, sometimes I feel like when you do that, that's when you get some of the coolest images. Also, I think planning goes a long way. So again, just a reminder, I really give the tip of making Pinterest boards and inspiration boards a lot, because it has helped me so much to grow as an artist, as a photographer, you know, as a visual person. I don't know, it's helped me so much. So I want to share that with y'all, because I think since it helped me so much, I think it'll help a lot of people too. But yeah, if you have any questions about anything, be sure to comment and I'll try my best to reply. But yeah, anything you'd like to share, any stories or maybe tips you have for me, that's pretty much it for what I wanted to talk about photography. If we're talking about just life, I just got here to Mexico. I I'd say like 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago. We kind of haven't been doing a lot of street photography. I haven't had a lot of opportunities for that, but definitely I think I'm going to try to carry my camera around a little bit more just to get a few more shots. Christmas decorations and celebrations already started here, which is fun. I got a few shots from 2 events that my mom and I went to that were, you know, obviously Christmas themed here. I think there's a lot of parties coming up. Today was one of them. We just had the neighbor's party, which was Christmas type party, which is nice. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.